All right, it is additional thoughts time for Manger on McNichols by Boldy James and Sterling Tolles. Um, I wrote down a note. You know, I have a backlog of these videos to make because of the holidays and stuff, and I honestly don't really remember the first listen, the reaction. Sometimes I remember when I'm doing these. Usually I remember how I felt on that first listen, but I remember like really kind of being blown away by the production and lyrically he's saying a lot of things that are pretty powerful and pretty incredible. But I wrote a note down about how the first listen, after having listened to it more and really like tried to soak in it more, it feels like the first listen is the first part of a tsunami. Because what's the first part of a tsunami? Not the water rushing in and all the chaos and destruction. No. It's when the water goes out. You know, you're just sitting there on the beach. You watch some of these videos and it's like, people are there on the beach. Especially that one from India, like 20 years ago, 2004, I think, or 2007. I think it was 2004. Where the people are just on the beach and everything's fine. And then, the water pulls out. And everyone's like, well, this is crazy and this is weird and what's going on? And when you notice that, that's when you start really paying attention, and then all the water comes rushing back in. And then that's when you're hit with how heavy everything is that's happening. That's what this album is to me, in a sense. The experience of spending time with this album. I think with that first listen, and the reaction is the reaction. I'm not trying to say I should have reacted in a different way. It's just, I think specifically with the production is so unorthodox, and I like it, but it's very different. And everything that's happening, it's a lot to take in on that first listen. Like, it really just doesn't. To me, it didn't hit me like it has hit me on the fourth listen or the fifth listen. It's really, really powerful piece of music. And I wrote down another note about how it's super gritty, super harsh, and all of these things that are being said by Boldy James, it's his life, it's his perspective, it's these things that he's going through, and he's talking a very harshness of his reality and all that kind of stuff. But God, as I was listening to it more and more, I was thinking, this album, while it is about Boldy and he's talking about him and his life and his environment, this album feels like it's about all of us. This idea of staring Medusa in the eye and you're turning to stone and becoming Kong creatures, and Detroit River Rock, do not let a teardrop fall from your eye. That sample chop coming in after Boldy says these things where you should be crying. You should be weeping. These should be heartbreaking events. And it's this combination of it happens so often that you're numb to it, and it happens so often you're emotionally exhausted, so much so that you can't cry anymore. And I think there's another layer too of needing to be tough and not perceived as weak and what have you. But I'm more focusing on the first two elements, and I think about kind of like us, all of us, right? This society. It's almost like the anecdote that is Boldy James and the life that he's describing in this album is also representative to so much of what we're going through as a society as a whole, where, I mean, every day, every week, it seems like we find out about these horrible things that are happening and these wild things that are happening. Like, there's still fucking drones flying around all over the place and no one really cares. Like a couple months ago, there's congressional hearings about, hey, aliens are probably real. Nobody really fucking cares. LA is on fire again. And it's just like this album and the production and the presentation, and it feels like this album has just, while it's of course capturing Boldy, it feels like it captures us. It's intense, man. It's really intense. Another one too, I talk about this, the tsunami coming in, the flood. Mommy Dearest is the flood that I didn't get. It didn't hit me. That's why I say that first listen feels like more of the water going out before, then the additional listens, the water coming back in proper and destroying everything. Like, Mommy Dearest is a fucking heartbreaking song to listen to. And even just from a conceptual level, this idea of, I think you like my other siblings more than me, and since before I was born, my mother wished she would have had an abortion, and like you tried to kill me. I don't know if he specifically says you tried to kill me in the womb. I think he says you killed me in the womb and I came back or something like that. Like, god damn, man. God damn. That is just... And then the production that goes with it, just this haphazard drum beats and sounds, and it just feels like thrashing, which is appropriate. And I found on YouTube, I didn't get to watch hardly any of it. It's like this hour-long thing of Sterling Tolles and Boldy James talking about this album, and I only got, 5 minutes in. I was trying to watch it at work, which was a mistake. I didn't have any time to watch it, but Sterling was talking about the production and how he put this all together, and he gave it to Boldy, and he was like, yeah, I've got this like idea of like just something epic. And then Boldy comes in with this thing about his mom, and Sterling at first was like, no, man, this is what I had in mind. I was thinking more something epic, and then he realized, no, this is epic. It is epic. It's epic in a painful and awful way, but it still is pretty epic. There's another note I wrote down, the lyrics from the middle of the month. This kind of ties back into what I was saying with this album feeling like a snapshot of society right now. The verse, I just lost my 2 twins in an accident. Would have been my firstborn kids. Guess it wasn't meant. It's been a series of unfortunate events. And just the way that is said, I feel like that is such a great encapsulation of so much of probably what's being felt across the country, around the world, of just, it feels like it's every day, it's one thing after another, one thing after another. And tying back to Detroit River Rock, do not let a teardrop fall from your eye. Just this duality of getting hit over and over and over again, so much so that you don't even feel the pain anymore, even though we should feel the pain. And also just being exhausted, and not, even if we did feel the pain, not having the emotional energy to show that kind of emotional response. It's really incredible. And I say these things and I think to myself, okay, so, what are we supposed to do, right? With all these unfortunate events that are happening to us on a seemingly daily basis. And, the answer is not to just cry about it every single time. Like, that doesn't get you anywhere either. But it is just this incredible crossroad of experience and exposure to things. And it leaves me feeling just, I don't know. I don't know what we're supposed to do as a people, as a society, to alleviate these things, prevent these things, stop them, however you want to phrase it. I don't know. But when I listen to this album, it's like a camera coming into focus. A little blurry. Sometimes when a camera's out of focus, you can still tell what the image is. It's just a little blurry, but then sometimes it just snaps in and it's real sharp and clear. And this album does that to me. It takes some of these things, these really like around the edges, in the background, not something I think about as a focus point in it. Changes the focus in it. It makes it so that stands out now. This idea of, it's a series of unfortunate events and being numb to things and turning to stone and becoming creatures. And I think even Got Flicked, I don't have the lyrics up in front of me, but Got Flicked at the end where he's kind of rattling off about getting out of prison, and he puts on his necklace and he puts on his chain, and he puts on, like, he's just going straight back to the thing that got him there in the first place. But then there's another, I forget which track it is, where he's talking about, I hate selling this dope. It's just the worst thing in the world when you feel like you have to sell this dope. And it's like, fuck, man. It's powerful. It's very powerful. And you guys have heard me lament before about how these artsy albums, and they don't get any attention, and they don't get the listens and all this other stuff. But stuff like this, in some ways, I almost get why. Like, that is the tug and pull between entertainment and art, especially with music. It exists very much in an entertainment lane, and if you're trying to just have fun, you ain't listening to this, man. And they even say that on that YouTube thing that's like an hour and 10, where, you know, Boldy, it starts out with Boldy James, this little clip, you know, we don't make this music for the people who think they're hard and they go to the club and they're fancy clothes and who can, you know, piss the furthest and all stuff. Like, that ain't what we're doing here, and that is very clear. It's incredible. It's an incredible album, man. I've been talking for 10 minutes, and I feel like what I've said sounds pretty good. But at the same time, I just feel like I'm not even scratching the surface of what this album is. It's just powerful. It's very powerful. And in a way, it's a tough listen, but it being a tough listen is what makes it so great. Kind of reminds me of one of my favorite paintings. I think it's called Scene from the Deluge. It's just fucking ominous and overbearing and heartbreaking and destructive and powerful. And in that, it is incredible, that painting. It's at the Louvre, so if you want to like look that up, you can try and find that Scene from the Deluge. Fuck, man, it's a huge painting. It just towers over you. Anyway, you know, when it comes to more Boldy James, I definitely want to check out Tecmo Bow. I like that it's called Super Tecmo Bow. There's some other stuff as well, but definitely going to do that in the future. More Boldy James for sure. I'm glad I sat down with this one. Manger on McNichols is unlike anything I've ever heard before, so I was very happy to have heard it and really get some time to sit and listen with it. And I guess that's it. All right, y'all. Take care. We'll see you.